Yeah, so in today class, we are going to cover two important topics, which is Informatica MDM IDMC architecture, and second topic which we will cover today is on-premises to cloud migration. So these two topics we will focus today. So let's start one by one. So here we have few slides which I have taken from Informatica. So let's try to understand it one by one. Yeah, so first let's try to understand the SaaS. What is SaaS? We tried this in first class as well. So this is a very common kind of methodology or concept in the cloud IT world nowadays. And this is not being used with Informatica only. This is a common kind of concept which being used all over the IT world where we have the cloud computing or cloud kind of applications. So SaaS is nothing but a software as a service. It's a kind of cloud computing concept which we can implement in the cloud related tools and technology. So we can host our on-premises application on the cloud, and this SaaS will help us to implement that different applications as a services. So here, whatever the service applications we can see, these all are the separate applications. So in the SaaS term, we call this as a microservices. So these all are microservices, and they are all combining to a IDMC tools. So there is some advantage of implementing a SaaS. These advantages are reduced time to benefit, lower cost, scalability. It's easy to upgrade from the cloud side, easy to use and perform proof of concept. So we can upgrade something in the backend, and then from the microservices we can perform the proof of concept POC. So these are the kind of common features we have of the SaaS, and we are using the SaaS for the Informatica MDM IDMC platform as well. So these are the different microservices we have. So the number of these microservices can vary from one user to other user. So it will depend on the license for the particular user, what kind of license is available. So accordingly, the number of services can differ. Here we can see IDMC platform high level kind of landscape. So basically in the IDMC, they have combined 260 plus intelligent cloud services. So that we can see as per our license. So here some of the microservices we can see like data catalog, data integration, data repository, data quality, master data management, customer 360, data marketplace governance. So this all is a kind of some sample services which we available within the IDMC platform. And below that, we have the Clear AI engine. So this Clear AI engine help us to find the kind of do the searching in the existing data. So like if we are creating a new record, we see that we also observe in the cloud customer 360 that if the record is already existing in the system with similar name or with a similar address or something, then it will give us some suggestion that this particular record is already existing with these details. So if you are trying to recreate duplicate records, you should avoid it. Or if you want to change few of the attributes, then you can go ahead and you can create. Then we will have the data sources below that. So we will see this in more detail in the upcoming slide. So this is IDMC architecture. So here we have a 3 to 4 component. Basically need to understand. So this first component here you can see this is a host. So this is a Informatica cloud component. So this host basically this is where these applications are hosted on the Informatica cloud uh, location. So these all services are microservices. Here we can see here we can have a multi-domain. Here we can have customer 360, business 360, data quality, CDI and all. So this all microservices is a kind of one small applications which has been hosted in the Informatica cloud platform. And then we will have some metadata and data repository as well, where we will store the metadata of these particular services. So metadata, as we know, that if we are discussing MDM, so for MDM also we are having the different services like Business 360, Customer 360 and all. So for storing the metadata of those services, it will use this metadata multi-tenant repository where it will store the metadata. And we will have one database also internally. So that database, that place we are going to store the actual business data. So if we are creating any customer record or product record, like if we are creating any business record, or if we are loading also through the import option or through the kind of CDI data mapping, so those data, business data will store at this place. So in the Informatica Cloud, we are having the three small segmentation. One is part of the microservices. These are available through the front end. Front end means we can log into our cloud application, IDMC application, and we can see these all the microservices, whatever we can see it here. And second component, the metadata of these microservices will store at this particular metadata segment. And then the third, the business data, which business data, whatever we will have, that will store in this data segment. So we have a three small segmentation within the Informatica MDM cloud. Now the second part of the architecture is this on-premises part. So suppose if something we have on-premises, like here we have, so these applications, data warehouse, legacy databases, and applications, CRM application, Salesforce application, which are hosted in the suppose some organization internal network, then this will be treated as a on-premises applications. So how this application can communicate with these cloud services? Because within this, between these cloud services and these local applications, we have one firewall. We can see this firewall will always be there. So suppose if some CRM application we have hosted in our cognizant organization, so that will have a firewall barrier which will not allow us directly to communicate between any cloud or any third party kind of platform. So there will be a kind of firewall in between that. So how we can communicate between that? So what is the use of communication? Why we should communicate it here? So the reason is some of the data, our source data, because we are going to onboard all the source data in the MDM so that we can create a master on top of that. So whatever sources we have in our on-premises, or some of the sources can lie on the cloud here also. So here we have two places. This bottom one we can see this is on-premises place, and the top one we can see here we have the some cloud applications also. So some of the applications, suppose like Salesforce, they have hosted here on the cloud. We can see here. And some of the CRM application they can host on this on-premises segment. Data warehouse can also be there, some database also there, some flat file could also stay here. So these two segmentation, how it can communicate with this Informatica cloud platform. So this cloud to cloud communication is easy because both are on the cloud, so they can easily communicate. But if we have something on the on-premises, which we wants to communicate with the cloud, so we have to enable the firewall and we have to do proper setup of firewall. So for avoiding this complexity, they have implemented a concept of secure agent. So there will be a secure agent, which will be a kind of third party, uh, which will work as a kind of mediator between cloud and on-premises. And we have to install this secure agent. If you guys remember, we had installed it in our previous classes to load the data. So wherever we want to communicate, we have to install the secure agent. So suppose we have the different environments, development, testing, QA, production and all. So we must have the separate secure agents dedicated for all those environment, which can enable us to communicate our on-premises applications or data with the Informatica cloud. So this secure agent we can install on the Windows platform also, on the Linux platform also. And what it will do, it will help us to enable us the connection between this Informatica cloud and this on-premises applications. Also, it will help us to give us some login details, and it will help us to move the data from on-premises to cloud. So this three parts it will take care of this secure agent. So for the respective environment, we have to configure the respective secure agent so that the respective environment can communicate with the Informatica cloud. So we understood these three segment. One segment is Informatica Cloud, which is having the small three internal segment of microservices, which is available through the front end. Then we have the metadata, which we are storing the metadata of these microservices. And then we have the data segment where we are storing the actual data. So this comprises of the Informatica Cloud segment. Second segment we have related to the on-premises, and for communicating this to the cloud, we have the secure agent within between that. And some of the application, if they are lying on the cloud itself, that can easily communicate through the secure agent to this Informatica cloud. So here you can see all of these applications are hosted on the cloud. So these are also getting routed through the secure agent to this Informatica cloud. And also this on-premises routed through secure agent to cloud. So these are the means high level details we have related to our IDMC architecture components. Let's go to the next slide and see little more details. So this is a kind of data flow. So this is giving details of the data flow within the MDM landscape, the IDMC. So in the left hand side here, we can see we will have the different data sources. So data sources, as we know that it could be anything like SAP, Oracle database, CBEL, flat files, right? IMS and all. So we can have the different sources of the data, which we can get marketing data, customer data, product data, sales data, and all. And that data we have to onboard within the MDM landscape through the ETL. So in the on-premises also, mostly we used to use ETL for onboarding the data from external sources to MDM in the landing table. And then from getting data in the landing table, we start our on-premises MDM coding and configuration. And from there, we create a master data. Here also, we have to onboard the data from different sources through the CDI mapping, and we can directly push the data in the customer 360 or product 360 in the respective business entity. That was also we have seen in our CDI ETL mapping how we can read the data and how we can push the data to the customer 360 or through the manually created business entity, right? So for that we have to use the business 360 connector. And if we use the business 360 connector as a target, then we will see all those options like do we want to use some entity for the customer 360, product 360, or some customized business entity, so that we can select and we can push the data. And within this MDM, we will have the different kind of stages of moving the data. So first we will create a model. So model is nothing but we will create the respective business entity. And within the business entity, we will create a pick list or field group, dependent field group. So this all part we will create within this MDM SaaS. Then we will do the cleansing. So how we can do the cleansing here, we can see the second step is cleansing. So for cleansing in IDMC, we have a CDI also. So we can perform the cleansing or kind of, we can apply the logic in CDI ETL mapping as well. And if you feel that some of the logic is not relevant to apply in the CDI, better we can apply this logic in the data quality also. Because it's easier for us to do the integration between data quality and MDM. So in our example, we had created one maplet with the help of CDI ETL. And that maplet we had called in the data quality for doing some data standardization. And that data standardization logic was already reflecting in the MDM because there is an integration between data quality and MDM. So whatever logic we will have, that logic will apply here to make the data clean and standardize. And then we will go for enrichment and match merge. So for match and merge also, So for match and merge also, we have seen that we have the separate job of match also, and we have the combined job also for match and merge. So as per our requirement, we will do proper configuration of manual match or auto match rules, and then those data will be ready for merging. So we can do kind of manual merge or auto merge as per needed. And finally, we will, after doing the merge, we will get a finally master data. Then within the master data, we can establish the relationships. We can enable the hierarchy to move from one business entity to other business entity. And then we can expose this data for discovery. Like we can use this data for, sorry, this discovery phase was in the starting itself. I forgot to take it. So before modeling, we do the discovery. Because discovery, we don't do anything. We just do a kind of data profiling and data sampling. And then the modeling part comes. So our MDM journey starts from discovery, like data profiling and data sampling we do. Then we do modeling, then cleanse, then enrich, then match, then merge, and then relate. Then that means establishing the relationship and all. And then our data will be ready, which can be exposed to the third-party applications like some downstream applications from here. So downstream applications like here we have the data consumers, they can consume those master data and they can do whatever needed. They can do create a dashboard, they can create a reports, analytics, they can consume those data in data warehouse, data lakes. So there will be a multiple kind of data consumers who can consume the data. So these are high level data flow we have within the MDM landscape. So now I will take a pause here. If we have any question, we can discuss.
Yeah, Sujit, can you previous slide? Can you go to previous slide?
Yeah,
Yeah, here you are saying metadata and data, right? So actual
right.
business data will get stored in that data, right?
Yeah.
So there are few, I mean, few clients, right? Maybe is it okay for them to store their data under Informatica cloud control? Because few, especially banking or this maybe some pharma, these type of things, right? So they don't want to store their data in other clouds premises. So what is the, is there any option for that to store their data into client's database, something like that?
Yeah. So currently, this IDMC is completely controlled by Informatica. And
Hmm.
we don't have any choice that this data is sensitive data and we can store in our local premises. So if we are moving to cloud, like if we are going to adopt IDMC, MDM SaaS cloud platform, then here they are not giving any choice to us that this data, if you want, you can store at any other place. So we have to adopt their kind of platform, and there they are maintaining kind of encryption. So they are saying that your data is stored in a proper encrypted format. Even they can also not read that data, whatever data is stored. So it can only be decrypted through some UI applications, through some algorithm. So they are saying that if you are adopting this IDMC, then you have to store and you have to follow this kind of architecture and you have to store data within the IDMC landscape on the cloud itself. There is no other option. Your data is encrypted, your metadata is encrypted. So your all data which is storing on the IDMC cloud, those are all encrypted. So those are secure. That can
So
only
it's
be,
so
yeah,
it's only IDMC control, and that too it's only in the MongoDB, no other choices.
right.
As a,
Currently there is no other choices.
and this entire data center or databases, whatever, is it the Informatica cloud or is it aligned with Azure cloud? Because what I understood from other discussion, so this they don't have separate cloud as in Informatica, so they are aligned with Azure cloud. Is that true, Sujit?
Yeah, so they don't have a separate cloud. So Informatica, as we know that they have bigger clients and they have a kind of many customers. So that's why they are not trying to have their own cloud. So they are taking the help of Azure and some of the components they have hosted on the AWS as well. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so they have taken the help of means Azure and AWS, and They have hosted their components on that platform itself. They
Okay.
don't have their
Well,
own cloud platform.
okay. So ultimately, the data getting stored is on a database which is controlled by Azure.
Right, correct. And those data get actually encrypted by Informatica kind of
Uh-huh.
algorithm, so that all the data is there on Azure. But means Azure also cannot read the data because those are encrypted data. So those are getting encrypted and decrypted through the Informatica logic and Informatica code. So that's why they are saying that those data are secure, although that is on the cloud, on the other cloud hosting vendors, but those are encrypted, so those data are secure. Some of the components they have hosted on AWS as well. They are not only using Azure. I see the latest release, so they are saying that some of the components they are also storing on the AWS. So they have done tie-up with Azure. Most of the components they have earlier they had on the Azure, but now they have some of the components on AWS Azure.
Hmm.
And as we know that most of the companies and clients currently they are also moving their other applications on the cloud. So currently in the cloud, as we know that we have only the two main vendors, that is Azure and AWS. So they are aware now day by day clients, even though banking clients or all the sensitive clients, government clients, they understand that they have a kind of option that data can be breached and data can be leaked outside. But they are using their own, they are already hosting their own applications on the cloud. And they are getting confidence day by day that those data are encrypted and cannot be leaked outside. So they are ready to adopt this Informatica cloud also, which are hosted on Azure and AWS. So now day by day they are getting confidence and they are ready for the moving of the data to the cloud. Due to this reason, what you told Srini, most of the clients are still not adopting this cloud because they are not comfortable to move their on-premises data, which is there in their own network and their own control, to move their data to the cloud. So due to that reason, many of the clients are still not going for the cloud. They are happy with the on-premises where they have the complete control of the data. But day by day, as we know that cloud computing and cloud concept is growing in the market, and it is having the many benefits like no need of doing the installation, no need of taking the infrastructure and all. And even we have the auto scale up options. So this auto scale up option is only available we have in the on cloud. Even we can configure in our own local infrastructure also. For that, we have to put lots of efforts and costing and maintenance. So to avoid those kind of all the bottlenecks, clients are trying to move on the cloud where they will have auto scale up and this environment and infrastructure will be taken care by Informatica and all. So there are many benefits of that, and also there are some drawbacks of that. So drawback is that you are exposing your own control data to the cloud. So there is a chances that there could be a data leakage or data can expose, but till now we have not observed any such cases. So we are understanding that day by day, the clients who are hesitating to move on the cloud, they will also move on the cloud day by day. And in the future, we are hoping that our all the on-premises applications, mostly 80 to 90% application will move to the cloud. Some of the applications already moved to the cloud from the most of the organization, and some of them which they are planning, maybe in the upcoming month, a year, they will move to the cloud. So that's why we are hoping that this Informatica MDM cloud will having more scope in the future. Currently, they have the limited features, and also all the clients are not ready to move on the cloud. So there are two main reasons due to which it is lagging. But in future, year by year, once they will have more features in the Informatica MDM SaaS and clients will be ready for moving to the cloud, then the scope of job and the scope of implementation and all will be more as compared to today in the Informatica MDM cloud in the upcoming days.
Hmm.
Okay. So do
Uh,
we have any question? Yeah,
Sujit, maybe it's just a, not a question.
yeah,
Many of the clients they are using the on-premises MDM, right, Sujit? So when they are moving to the cloud, how usually that on-premises data model will shift to the cloud? Like I heard some of the interviews, they're saying that many of the objects are not moving to the cloud, so they are building the again new data model, new business entities, and they are constructing all things from the scratch. So what will happen if they are going for the cloud, like not moving everything like existing data models in the production usually?
Yeah, so that part we are going to take care in our migration topic. So second topic is the migration from on-prem to cloud. So that part we will take in the upcoming topic. Yeah. After this, we are going to take care that topic, and there we will discuss this.
Okay.
So this is high-level architecture and components we have within the IDMC MDM landscape, which we should aware. So here you should have two, three things in mind. One is your Informatica Cloud components, where we will have this microservices, metadata, and data. And then the second component, we have the on-premises. And similar to on-premises, we can have a third-party cloud where our clients' applications are hosted like Salesforce and other applications we can see. So how we can make available this third-party cloud and these local applications to the Informatica cloud. So we will install secure agent, which will help us to perform a kind of mediator role between Informatica cloud and third-party cloud and our on-premises applications. So these three, four components just we have to remember. And as part of this IDMC architecture, this data flow is similar what we do in the on-premises. I think we cannot see anything difference here, right? So we do discovery, then we do modeling, then we do clean, enrich, match, merge. We establish relationship and hierarchy, and then we expose our data to downstream applications. So this is similar if we compare. Here we are just using IICS for the ETL part. Then we will have the governing part. So governing will also be there in our on-premises to govern our master data and all. So
So
let's
just
move.
even in the previous
Yeah,
slide, there should be line between the Informatica hosted services and the
yeah. Here
cloud.
we have the firewall line. This line we can see.
No, no, not that line. Let's
This
say
one.
there is a microservices hosted by Informatica, right? Yeah.
Okay.
The communication between that services and the right side the cloud applications. There
Yeah,
should
yeah.
be.
So here you can see this right side cloud is coming to secure agent first, no, through this firewall, and then the secure agent routing this information and communication to this Informatica cloud.
Yeah,
So there
that
is
is
no
to
direct
communicate
communication.
between on-premise. Let's say, for example, in the data quality, let's say I want to use Azure Maps as a address enrichment service, right? So then that
Mhm.
is Azure Maps is the service hosted in the Azure cloud. In that case, there should be direct connect line between the services and Azure cloud, right?
Yeah, if
If
that
not,
particular applications you are saying that you already hosted on the Azure, and that is
mm,
Informatica Cloud is also on Azure, so that can have a
mm,
direct connectivity. Yeah, so that will not go through with the firewall
correct,
abstraction.
correct,
That they can directly connect.
correct. That line is not shown here. Is that
Yeah,
missing or
this is a architecture I have taken from Informatica itself, and this is the latest architecture, no?
okay?
So what they are saying, this cloud, whatever they are treating, this cloud is a kind of separate cloud. It could be a AWS here we can see, and
Mm,
it could be a other third-party cloud where these
mhm.
applications are hosted. Then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have the Google Cloud also here we can see. So
Correct, correct.
good.
From let's say from IDQ, CDQ, for example, from CDQ or CA in that matter, we should be able to connect to any cloud application or maybe even the on-prem application through secure agent. If
Right,
it is
correct.
a cloud hosted service or application, from this IDMC, whatever the microservice, from that service, we should be able to connect to any cloud hosted services directly.
Right, right, correct. If that is already hosted on the same platform of Azure and something, we can directly connect.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So now let's try to focus on the migration part, and let's try to understand how we can do the migration of on-premises MDM applications to the MDM SaaS applications. So for this migration, I explored that there is some vendor that is called Verocity or something. They have introduced one adapter or kind of migration tool through which we can do the migration very faster but there is a lots of kind of gaps. It means the migration will not be done in one shot and all things will work. There are lots of gap in that also. There is a velocity of some applications you guys can explore. I try to explore more detail of that application where we can understand how they are doing the migration. And also, I saw only one video, and that is a kind of established vendor. It's not like some small company. So if they have introduced that application, that means it is doing some of the part of the migration, but it is not taking care of the entire migration completely. So just they are taking the dump from the Informatica on-premises, they are taking the export, and that export they are passing to the Veracity applications, and that application is converting those kind of XML dumps into some other format, and they're making the appropriate change, and that dump they are exporting through our Business 360. So some of the business entity and other components showing correctly because converting to business base object to a business entity is little easier because just we can create take the base subject name, we can remove the technical part like CB, and we can take the like if we have the CB employee name of the base object, so we can remove CB and we can take employee and we can create a kind of employee business entity. So that kind of part we can automate through our migration tool. So suppose if you have 30, 40 base object, so we can create a separate kind of business entity with the help of business base object name. We can take the non-system columns like business columns from those base subjects, and we can add those base subject column for the business entity in the MDM SaaS. So those easier part is we can easily use the third-party migration tool and we can do. But again, now the complexity will come for the kind of relationships if you have the multiple child and all. And in some cases, if you don't want to migrate all the attributes which are available in the base object, and also in some cases we want to change the kind of data model, whatever data model we have in the on-premises, so those will not work. So again, we have to come for kind of building the data model manually in the MDM SaaS. So in the migration, as we know, we will have mostly the two parts which we need to take care. One is code migration and second is data migration, right? So first we do the code migration from the on-premises to cloud, and then we take care how we can migrate our existing data. So there are two main components which we have to take care. So let's try to first understand how we can do the code migration. So for code migration, as per the current features what we have, we don't have any ready-made 100% trusted adapters which can do the migration from on-premises to cloud, because we have seen there are lots of changes in the cloud way of implementation, and they're made easier. So if we compare our on-premises and MDM Cloud SaaS, so they have tried to remove most of the technical part which was there in the on-premises, and they have tried to make no code and less code concept in the MDM SaaS. And the way of implementation is completely different as compared to the on-premises. That's why, as per current best practices, we are doing the manual kind of migration. So we are understanding what logic we have in the on-premises code. So basically, we are studying gathering the details of on-prem code. So we are documenting it, and then with the help of above analysis, we are going to MDM SaaS Cloud, and we are trying to implement above logic, implement above code logic manually. So if we are implementing it manually, then we will have lots of flexibility. Like Karuna said that we can have a difference in the data model between the on-prem and cloud. So this is a very common thing which will always happen. So maybe some of the customers who are on the on-premises from long time, and once they are moving to the cloud, so they want to make some changes in between that. And there is a limitation of changes also, because if we are discussing suppose customer data which we are trying to move party model which are there in the on premises, we are planning to move on the cloud. So we have inbuilt data model for customer 360 on the cloud. So we have inbuilt data model on the MDM SaaS for the customer 360. And with the help of that, we will try to move our party model which were there in on-premises to the cloud. So there will be differences between these two. Because on the cloud, on the on-premises, whatever party model we have, we can have the different kind of attributes, different base subject, different childs and all. But whatever data model we have in customer 360, so this is a Informatica design data model, and that is a more kind of accurate because that is the latest data model, and they have tried to take all the scenario which can exist across the customer 360 data model, and they have tried to implemented that. So maybe whatever on-prem data model we have for the customer, that is not completely matching with the customer 360. So there will be a gap between these two. So how we can take care? So we have to study our on-prem data model in this part. We have to document it. We have to create our kind of data model and all on the third-party data modeling tool. And then again, we have to think like how what different business entity we have to create, whatever child we have created, how we can avoid those child after creating the field group. If we have some drop down, how we can use the pick list and all, and we can use the feature of pick list, and we can do expose the data in the form of drop down. So those study we will do, and we will try to implement uh, those logic in the MDM SaaS through the manual coding options. For that, we have the customer 360 data model already on the MDM SaaS. So that will reduce some of our effort because that data model, some of the feature we can use. Like we can open the customer 360 business entity. Within the business entity, we can see a few of the attributes are already there. So those attributes we will not kind of change. We can use the existing attributes. Some of the attributes we feel that those are not needed, that we can delete also, because in our previous classes we have seen how we can delete and how we can customize the existing out-of-box data model as well, right? So we can customize, we can add, we can remove, we can update the attributes, whatever we have within the out-of-box business entity in the MDM SaaS. So with the help of those options, we will try to replicate whatever data model we have in the on-premises to the MDM cloud. So that part we have to take care. Some cases we can have user exits also. So those user exits feature we don't have currently in the MDM SaaS. So we have to see what logic we have written in the user exit and whatever features currently we have in the on cloud. If we see that we are able to replicate that logic through some features, either through data quality or through CDI or within the MDM. So that what we have to think because we have limitations here. So we have to see what logic we have written in our user exit through the Java and all, and how we can replicate that logic within MDM through Business 360. And even if we are not able to do within MDM, then at least we can try through our CDI mapping or data quality rules. So that part we have to see. And that there is no kind of direct code migration from on-premises to cloud, that just we take the export and we just do the import and all things are done. Currently, we don't have that feature. Maybe in the upcoming years, Informatica will introduce some adapters. So we are waiting for that. Currently, we are doing this migration manually. So this is related to our code migration. So code migration is still easier. We can write the logic, whatever we have in on-premises, because in on-premises, we will have a logic for all the kind of code. Once we are moving the data from landing to a stage and a stage to base subject. So if we have implemented some logic for data standardization, data cleansing, so that part we can achieve through our data quality rules and CDI, ETL data mappings that we can easily do. But the problem is with the data migration. So in data migration, here customer can come up that I don't want to refresh my entire data, whatever master data I have. So I want to just dump entire master data as it is in the MDM SaaS. Because here in this part we are going to create match field separately as per whatever options available in the business 360. So we'll read the match data match rule from the on-premises, and we will try to write the similar kind of match rule in the cloud also. So for the upcoming data, for the delta data after the migration, that match rule will apply and that will take care. For delta data, that is fine. That match rule we can test and we can make sure that it will work perfectly for the delta data. But what will happen for the already loaded data, which was already mastered in the on-premises? So we have two options for that. One option is that if we have some way where we have the entire source records stored on some staging area on outside of MDM, or if we have entire source records in the different sources, then we can plan for the one-time data refresh. So we will write a code in MDM SaaS with the help of on-premises code. So that code part is completed. If you go for data migration, so if we have the options from the different sources that we can perform the full data refresh, then we will try to onboard all the data from different sources to this respective business entity through the different CDI mapping. And then we can run our newly created match merge rule in the MDM SaaS, and then we can reconsolidate our entire data. So this is the first option we have. Second option we have, second option what we can do, whatever master data we have in the base subject and in the cross reference. So we will try to dump those data in the business entity. So once we will try to dump, as we know that we have to do some mapping of the PKSRC object while moving data from sources to business entity, there will be a PKSRC mandatory field which we need to map. So that PKSRC object, how we should map? So we can study our existing PKSRC logic in on-premises between loading data from a landing table to a stage table. So once we do load data from landing table to a stage table, we do apply some logic in between that. And for PKSRC, we can have some ID, which will come from source, and that ID we can directly map. And in some cases, if you don't have any unique ID from source, then we used to create our unique ID with our own logic, right? We combine multiple columns from the sources from the landing table in the mapping, and then we pass the output of those combined columns to the PKSRC to make sure that PKSRC will be unique. It will not be duplicated to avoid any kind of rejections. So there will be two cases. If we are getting that some ID from some source, that ID cannot be null and that would be unique. So that ID again we can map in our CDI mapping while moving the data from source to MDM SaaS. And if we have some logic, so that logic also we can embed while mapping our source data to MDM PKSRC. So if we see that logic is very complex, which we cannot derive that logic between this data mapping between source and PKSRC within this business customer 360 and all. So that mapping we can derive with the help of our CDI ETL. That logic we can derive with the help of CDI ETL. We can store that logic in some column, and that column we can directly map in the PKSRC. That depends on the different scenario. So we can take the export and we can take the dump from the cross reference of the base subject. And in the base of in the cross reference, that as we know that we will have the history data also. History means if we have the five entry of the five different sources. So in base subject, we will have only one entry after the masters, right? But we will have the five different entry, which will point to the master data, same master data. So we'll have the five different entry of the five different sources. So if we are taking the export from base object, then we can only dump one data for one data for a kind of one customer. But if you want to dump all the five records from the five different sources in the MDM SaaS, then for that we have to take the export from the cross reference, because in cross reference we will have the data till that level. Second option comes for the history. So if you have enabled history in your on-prem based object, so there will be a hist table in the on-premises, CBO hist something, right? So we can take the dump for that CBO hist, and in place of base subject and cross reference, we can dump that hist data. So that will help us to give the more history details of the particular transaction in the business entity. And if you don't have that history enabled, because as we know that is history enable is optional always in the on-premises also. So in some cases we cannot have the history. So just whatever data we'll have in the cross reference, we will try to take the dump of that and we'll try to move the data through our CDI mapping in the respective business entity in the MDM SaaS. So this is the second option we have. Either we can go for one-time complete data refresh from source, or second we can try for the taking dump from the base subject, cross-reference or history as per our need, and we can try to onboard those data through the CDI map. So these options we have for the data migration.
Sujit, one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but base object data, yes, we can, I mean, in the CDA mapping, we can map it to business entity and we can, migrate the data. But how do we migrate this XRF and history?
Yeah, so for cross-reference also similar to the base subject. So suppose we have the customer data in the on-premises. So we will have a CBO customer for the base subject. So that we are understanding that is straightforward to onboard. For cross-reference, CBO cross-reference data will be there. So just we will take the dump, or we can create in place of taking the dump, we can create a mapping. In the mapping, we can read the data of the cross-reference as a source. And in the target, we can take the business 360 and we can take the respective business entity and we can do the mapping. So in the source, we will have the multiple entry of the same record, right? Because for one master record, we can have 5 or 10 entry also. So we will onboard all those entry in the business entity, and after we will take PKSRC and source system. So in cross-reference also, for every record, we will have the PKSRC and source system name, right? Which will make a kind of unique of all the records, the combination of these two. So we will do the mapping of the respective source with the help of source system filter, and we will take the PKSRs. And in the target, again, we will take the same business entity. So we will onboard this data for the different sources to the different ETL mapping in the same business entity. And again, we have to re-execute our match and merge so that out of those multiple data, we can create our master.
So that means, let's say for one base object record, if there are 5 cross references, after one, first we will take from the base object, there will be 1 record. And second set, we take the data from XREF table, then five records. 5 plus 1, 6 records will be there in the
Yeah, yeah.
business.
So in this case, we have to choose only one option. Either if you are dumping from base object, no need to dump from the cross reference again.
Okay.
Better way that we should dump the cross reference because we will have more detailed information, right?
Yeah.
So if we are going for second option cross reference, we will not dump the base object. So we will only dump the cross reference and again we will re-execute our match and merge so that we
Okay.
can get the
So
master.
we need to execute the match and merge to consolidate
Right,
it.
right,
Right?
right. In case of cross reference, because we will have the multiple entry, so we have
Uh,
to run the match and merge.
yeah. Okay. So that is, I think, base object and XREF pointer. But how about history data then?
Yeah, in history also, as we know that for history, even we are considering that for one customer, we can have the 5 different entry for the 5 different sources. So, but in history, for the 5 different records, we can have a 50 transactions also, right?
Correct.
Because maybe for a CRM source, we got some customer information. So we'll have only one entry in the cross reference for the CRM. But
Hmm.
for that CRM, suppose 10 transactions happens different
Hmm.
time. So we'll have the 10 different entry in the history table, right?
Correct. Hmm.
So those all details, again, in this case, if you are going for history, we will not load any data for the this cross reference. If you are taking history, so we are not loading data from base subject, we are not loading from cross reference, we are only loading from the history table to target business entity. And in this case, again, we will have the multiple entry. So this will be treated as a kind of cross-reference records. And here we can perform the kind of match and merge. And again, we can get one master data. So basically, with the help of this option, what we will have, we can have the multiple history details of each records, which will help us to explore details of the history. But as we know, this is not means mandatory that we will have the history of all the base subject in on-premises. So it depends on kind of availability if it's available, and if the customer demand is that they want the history also in the cloud. then we can go for that. Otherwise, the best way to always take the cross-reference.
So then for the history case, you are saying only migrate the history data, then do match and merge, then it will do all the, I mean, consolidation plus XRF records also it will create. That's what you are saying.
Right, right.
So is that anywhere implemented, Sujit?
Yeah, it's not implemented, but we had some discussion with Informatica. So we presented that use case that in some cases, if you want to suppose replicate the history data, then what could be the way? Because in your cross reference, you don't have a history. Even in a base subject also, you don't have a history. Then what could be the possible way? So this we not
Yeah.
implemented. I think it's not implemented by Informatica. Also, they told that we have not implemented yet. But just we recommend by this way, you can achieve that. So mostly now the current implementation, Informatica also suggesting through the cross reference that is the best way. And they're saying that if you implement, then going forward, whatever transactions is happening already, we have enabled history for all the customers on the cloud as a general rule. So ongoing, you will have the history of all the transaction after the migration, because this history option we have made mandatory for all the customers. But if you want to take this history from the your on-premises, then there could be only one possible way which you can try. That's what they have recommended. So Informatica also in the migration part, they are adopting that cross-reference migration, which is a kind of saying that is more realistic, and we have the separate master data, and that part also we have utilized in our previous project as part of migration. So these are the different options we have for the data migration and code migration from the on-premises to MDM cloud. So here, especially in the interview, they can ask multiple questions like how you are going to take care if we have the difference in the data model, difference in the data loading, difference in the kind of features, like we don't have user exit, some of the features which were there in on-premises in MDM. Even we don't have mapping option, that even in on-premises, whatever mapping we had between landing and a stage. So we have enough feature. We can write a kind of complicated, complex mapping as well in between landing and a stage, right? We had lots of clinch functions available. But we have limitation here within the business 360, how you are going to take care of those all parts. So for those parts, they have already integrated CTI and data quality, where you can leverage those features and you can write a more complex mappings and more complex logic before moving the data to empty. So these all parts are related with the data migration and architecture. So we'll close today class at this point, and for tomorrow, I need one suggestion from you guys.